Manx Radio's Update with Beth Espy.
Well, Fastamai, good evening. Welcome to Update here on Manx Radio, where over the next half hour we'll take a look at the day's main news. So, what happened in the Legislative Council today as the Bishop's vote came under debate? Meanwhile, sparks were also flying in the House of Keys, where the Chief Minister and a Ramsey MHK locked horns in a fiery exchange. We'll bring you some of that in a few minutes. Also, a Manx resident shows that when it comes to awards, you really can have your cake and eat it too. And there's some good news about a pub in Peel, which had said it was closing, but now there might be a rethink on that. All that plus the weather, the traffic and the travel. And as ever, if you'd like to get in touch, you can text 166 177 or email studio@manxradio.com. We'll start with a roundup of the main news headlines with Siobhan Fastamai.
Ronaldsway Met Office has issued another weather warning for coastal overtopping, which will come into force later this evening. Forecasters say some splashover of waves is likely at various coastal locations at around the time of the next three high tides, at approximately 10:15 tonight and 10:45 a.m. and 11 p.m. tomorrow. The Legislative Council has taken another step towards deciding whether the Bishop of Sodor and Man should retain voting rights in Tynwald sittings. Members have now completed the clauses stage of the Isle of Man Constitution Bill 2023, which, if approved, would remove the Bishop's ability to vote in both Tynwald and Legco, leaving the position as an advisory role only. The Enterprise Minister says he was personally contacted by 6 individuals and businesses in the week following an increase in the minimum wage being approved. In the House of Keys today, Tim Johnston was asked about the level of contact he'd had with businesses in the 7 days since the change.
I think the important point to make is this isn't the start of correspondence. The Department has been engaging with the businesses from a variety of sectors, reviewing the methodology for the calculation, and that was detailed in Section 4 of the report, which was approved by Tynwald in July.
And Michael Dunlop, the most successful TT competitor of all time, has received his MBE for services to motorcycle racing today. The Ballymoney rider has officially received the honour from His Majesty King Charles III. Further afield, the UK Chancellor Rachel Reeves has again warned of the difficult choices she'll have to make in her upcoming budget. There have been tributes to a railway worker who helped save passengers during Saturday's knife attack on a train in Cambridgeshire. Former US Vice President Dick Cheney has died at the age of 84. The Republican served under George W. Bush from 2001 to 2009 and was a leading advocate of the invasion of Iraq in 2003. Defence and security analyst Michael Clark says he was highly influential.
If he thought something, it would tend to become policy of the White House. If President Bush was grasping for something that he couldn't quite define, Cheney would define it for him. So he shaped American policy in a lot of ways that people who didn't take a particular interest in American politics wouldn't have known.
And David Beckham has revealed his wife, Lady Victoria, made the suit he was wearing when he was knighted this morning. They're your headlines. I'll have your news at 6.
Thank you very much indeed, Siobhan. Now the weather brought to you by Manx Glass and Glazing. And as Siobhan mentioned, there is that yellow weather warning for coastal overtopping. That comes into force this evening. So forecasters say with spring tides around at the moment, some splashover of waves is likely at various coastal locations, especially those exposed to the south at around the time of the next 3 high tides. So that's approximately 10:15 tonight and 10:45 a.m. and 11 p.m. tomorrow. So that warning then in force from 8:30 this evening until 1 a.m. on Thursday. And we're told a little debris may be left at the likes of Shore Road in Rushen and the north of Douglas Promenade. The overall forecast continuing cloudy and damp this evening and overnight. Rain and drizzle at times. It will turn heavier later. Temperatures will stay around 14 with moderate south or southeast winds.
Manx Glass and Glazing can supply and install single, double and triple glazing. Call 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
Simply Income Protection from Kestrel Insurance. A choice of benefits. Simple underwriting and peace of mind with a regular income for up to 2 years if you're unable to work due to illness or injury. Kestrel Insurance is registered with the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
Carpetland, the carpet specialist with the island's best value carpets in stock, often fitted within a week. Furnitureland for 3-piece suites, dining and living room furniture, and a selection of amazing beds. Carpetland and Furnitureland, West Street, Ramsey.
Manx Mobility in Onken have it all. Daily living aids, wide-fitting shoes, rise recliners, beds and scooters, including lightweight and airline-approved models. Call in and see how our expert team can make your life easier. Manx Mobility at the top of Summer Hill.
Herschel exclusive Karcher store is open with thousands of products, accessories and parts in stock. For Karcher sales and service, Hersham Electrical, Shipyard Industrial Estate, Ramsey.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
So this next story could be described as a bit of a constitutional maze, and thankfully Christian has been keeping track of it all for us. So essentially, earlier today, the Legislative Council voted to progress stripping the Bishop's vote to its final stage. Christian, what can you tell us about this first?
Yeah, absolutely. It is a bit of a constitutional maze. You're absolutely right. It's one of those stories where all the pieces have to fit together before the picture makes sense. So here goes. When a bill is brought forward, it first goes through the House of Keys. Once it's done there, it moves on to the Legislative Council, or LegCo as it's known. OK, so far so good. Right now, so once it reaches LegCo, members there have to approve what's first of all called the principal stage. That's basically the first time they debate what the bill is actually about. If they agree, it then moves on to the clauses stage, which is where they start debating the detail line by line. That's where we're up to today. OK, so just remind us, this particular bill is all about whether the bishop should still be able to vote in Tynwald and also in LegCo. Yeah, absolutely. Currently, the bishop can vote in both, but this bill would remove that voting power. The bishop would still have a seat and would still be able to speak, but it's a purely advisory role. Now, here's where it starts to get a bit interesting. MLC Gary Clewett put forward an amendment that would have allowed the current bishop to keep her vote until her term ends. The idea being that she signed up for a role with certain powers. It's only fair that she is able to see it out before any change takes effect. So I think some people would see that as something of a compromise, I guess. Did that go through? No. That amendment was voted down, but Mr Clewett's already indicated that he intends to try again when the bill reaches its final stage next week. The problem is, though, it'll be much harder for him to get that through. It'll need a 2/3 majority rather than just a simple majority. So if he does succeed next week, what would happen next? Well, if that amendment passes, the bill would then go back to the House of Keys for them to consider the change. But if it fails and the bill goes through as it stands, that would be the end of the bishop's vote altogether. So it's a pretty major constitutional shift for the island. Just to add, the bishop herself isn't in favour of the amendment. She's not in favour of the delay. She's essentially of the opinion, if you're going to do it, just get on with it. So then, Christian, next week's debate could be the moment that decides it once and for all then? Yep, absolutely. So the final stage before it heads off for royal assent. So whichever way it goes, it will mark the end of what has been a long and rather intricate process. Certainly sounds it. Christian, thank you very much indeed. We will have more on this on Breakfast tomorrow, including an interview with the MHK who started this ball rolling. 8 minutes past 5, and we're going to stay with politics because not every instance of a government department acting unlawfully automatically amounts to a breach of the ministerial code. So this is according to the Chief Minister, who was quizzed on the topic in the House of Keys today. The Ramsey MHK and Laurie Hooper wanted to know whether non-compliance with the law is a breach of the ministerial code and what action he would take if a minister failed to comply with the law in the exercise of their duties. So this led to a, let's say, heated debate in the chamber, as Siobhan reports. In response to the Ramsey member, Alfred Cannon said that any evidence of material non-compliance with the law at a departmental level, which the minister is ultimately responsible for, may well be deemed to be a breach of the ministerial code, which would then be considered on a case-by-case basis. Mr Hooper then asked if that means breaking the law if you're a minister is okay sometimes. Here's the Chief Minister.
There's significant variances and nuances attached to this, including acting unlawfully, acting illegally. Ministers are held to accountable for their actions through a number of mechanisms, including petitions of dolience, for example, where an individual may feel a minister has breached the law and wishes to take the matter to court. An action for civil liabilities, and of course political and parliamentary scrutiny, as well as the ministerial code. Mr Cannon also gave examples of breaches. I've been made aware of potentially 2 breaches of the law when it comes to Manx Care. One, when the Honourable Member was the Minister himself over Cumbernauld Moor, where it was found that Manx Care and the DHSC had not fulfilled their statutory obligations, and one which the Minister herself has recently highlighted in respect of Ramsey MIU. In both cases, I'm satisfied that despite the fact that the Department and Manx Care were potentially acting unlawfully, the Ministers have taken satisfactory action to correct position, and on that basis, I believe that all the integrity of the ministerial code remains intact.
But another example given by Mr Cannon didn't go down very well.
I didn't notice him resigning when the law was breached and Manx Care and the DHS were...
Point of order, Mr Speaker. Point of order, Mr Speaker.
Let me hear a point of order.
I'd like the Chief Minister to withdraw that. He is now accusing me, whilst Minister, of acting unlawfully. That is quite a serious accusation for the Chief Minister to make, and I'd like them to withdraw those remarks, please, unless, of course, he has evidence sufficient to support that claim and that statement.
May 23rd, Minister.
So I'll just carry on, Mr Speaker. I mean, the honourable member seems to be throwing around accusations about the Minister for Health, and yet
I didn't say it. She admitted it.
Order. Let the Chief Minister have the floor.
He wants to throw around accusations about somebody else, but is not prepared to look at his own actions whilst he was a Minister. I'm quite clear, and I've got quite clear advice. The Department did not fulfil its statutory duty under Section 8 to involve the public in the development and consideration of the significant service change in relation to common law, and it represents an instance where the Department failed to meet its legal obligations under the Act. He was the Minister, therefore he should have been held accountable, potentially. Of course, so I consider these
happily resigned
on a case-by-case basis.
Several other members suggested that the ministerial code should be clarified and strengthened to ensure that any confusion can be cleared up going forward.
Siobhan there reporting on that. And if you'd like to hear the whole exchange, you can go to the Manx Radio website. It is 12 minutes past 5 now. And we've been hearing a lot over the past couple of weeks about the concerns raised by businesses on the island following that approved rise in the minimum wage. So this £13.46 hourly rate will take effect from April, and it was given the green light on the 23rd of October. Again, in Keys today, the Enterprise Minister Tim Johnston was asked how many businesses had contacted him or officers of his department about this matter in the week that followed that vote.
I was personally contacted by 6 individuals or businesses regarding the minimum wage. I understand that some of these messages or emails were also sent to other members of Tynwald. Over the same time frame, officers in the Department for Enterprise were contacted by 5 businesses.
Is that the level of correspondence which you would expect after such a significant announcement? And did he get a larger number prior to the debate?
I think the important point to make is this isn't the start of correspondence. I think to have a talk about specific date as he has, the Department has been engaging with the businesses from a variety of sectors, reviewing the methodology for the calculation, and that was detailed in Section 4 of the report, which was approved by Tynwald in July. So that included Tynwald members, it included Chamber of Commerce, Department's executive agencies, and also the Minimum Wage Committee.
The reason I'm asking the question is just to kind of get an indication about the level of confidence businesses have in the Minister and the Department. Does he feel that such a low number of businesses contact him is really a concern?
Well, as I say, the question was how many contacted me within a specific date. I've answered the question. I think I made the point in the first supplementary, that actually this is an ongoing thing, and the Department is constantly engaging with businesses and through the executive agencies.
Do the Minister and the political members actually have a specific meeting about the proposed increase in the minimum wage prior to the Tynwald sitting and immediately after the sitting to discuss the actual size of the increase and related issues?
Well, as part of the process before the regulations actually went onto the Register of Business, these were discussed and approved by the Department as normal through our normal processes, and at the same time, and as part of that discussion, it was also noted the position of Chambers and others in that debate.
That's Minister Tim Johnston responding to questions from Jason Morehouse, MHK.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
So nothing on the police pages this evening, but the fire service did post earlier about the flooding that they went to this morning. It was awful, especially around the Santon area. They have said with more rain forecast, they'd asked people to ensure that drains and gullies around their properties are kept clear, because that might just help in that situation. Other than that, it's the usual temporary lights that are around the island, and looking down at the airport, all good there, and the Manxman is due into Douglas at around about 5:30. We'll be heading out for Heysham as scheduled at 7:15.
Quayside Tyres and Service Centre with 1 year's free engine warranty from Castrol. Get more with
It's just gone 5:15. Now, Castletown Commissioners say their pleased funding has been approved for the second phase of its School Hill redevelopment scheme. Now, this second phase of the social housing project is due to cost around £13 million, and Chair of the Commissioners, Tony Brown, hopes to start it as quickly as possible. So it will consist of 18 bungalows and 30 houses, which will replace the properties that were built after World War II. Our local democracy reporter, Emma Draper, has been talking to Mr Brown.
Well, the process is quite straightforward. I mean, contracts like this is a big project. Phase 2 is £13 million. And basically, we as a board, at our second meeting, the new board approved this scheme. And that was then transmitted through to the department, who then passed on the information and so on to Treasury. There's a lot more has to be done as well. Our concern was clearly that it was taking so long to get approval for this next phase, because we made that decision in May this year. And we're very pleased now that Treasury have approved the scheme, so the scheme can now get underway. The next phase will start pretty quickly.
And it is £13 million, which is quite a lot of money. So would you be able to explain about where that money's coming from and what impact it might have on the ratepayers, if any?
First and foremost, public sector housing doesn't put any cost against the ratepayers at all. It's all 100% funded by government through what we call a deficiency payment scheme, which means that when we have like this borrowing, the borrowings are paid off over 30 years by government payment through to us to pay for that borrowing. And then, of course, when they take into account the rents received, and you then look at what may be additional costs, that's what we call the deficiency, which is then met by government. So for a period of time, of course, Castletown didn't have a deficiency, so the rents that were collected funded the actual public sector housing 100%. Now we're going, because of these rebuilds, I mean, School Hill Estate was built just after the Second World War. We're now having a major rebuild again of the estate. Phase 1 has been virtually completed. There's some work still to be done. There are snagging issues to be done. We're now moving into Phase 2, which will provide the other phase of public sector housing, and that's 100% government funded.
That's Castletown Commissioners Chair Tony Brown. Now, there are no currently active plans to improve the TT Access Road or indeed relocate it. The Infrastructure Minister, Dr Michelle Haywood, says a number of options are drifting around, but as yet, nothing is being progressed.
Many options have been considered for the improvement or replacement of the TT Access Road. These include enhancements to the existing route and potential alternative access. The Department has no plans to progress with any specific scheme at this time other than to maintain the existing access road to a reasonable standard. I do not intend to release further details of all the options that have been considered, as they remain part of ongoing and future policy development. In the short term, the Department has undertaken routine maintenance and operational enhancement to support traffic flow and safety during TT race periods. These works included carriageway resurfacing, verge clearance and improved traffic management, including traffic lights. No further physical improvements are planned at this stage. As no scheme is currently being progressed, no capital costs have been committed and no funding allocations have been made for major infrastructure works relating to the TT Access Road. Should a scheme be brought forward in the future, costs and funding mechanisms will be considered as part of the formal policy and budgetary process. The Department will continue to monitor the performance of the TT Access Road and consider its role in supporting development proposals, particularly those within the TT circuit, as part of future infrastructure planning. The Department remains committed to maintaining the TT Access Road to a standard that ensures safe and reliable access during race periods, and will continue to treat its capacity and function as a material consideration in development matters.
Thomas?
Can the public have any trust in any promises made around TT Access Road and transport improvements, given the legal requirement to have made improvements in the last 5 years and the absence of them, and no actual plans to do anything about it even now?
There are actual plans drifting around within the Department. However, no decision has been made about any of those plans yet.
That is the Infrastructure Minister, Dr Michelle Haywood, answering questions about the TT Access Road. It's coming up to 5:20. So at the end of September, we heard the news that a popular micropub in Peel would be closing its doors for good. The owners, Charles and Anne Miller, cited difficult trading conditions, the rising cost of stock, increased energy costs and also declining customer numbers. 5 weeks on, however, the Miller's Tale of Michael Street is set to return. Lewis has been chatting with Charles this afternoon.
I mean, we did genuinely close on the 30th of September. It was our financial year end. We were like a lot of small businesses having trouble paying our bills, and it just came to a head one Saturday morning. So, yeah, we did close, and we were in the process of emptying the building to hand it back to the landlords. We then entered into discussions with 3 interested parties to buy the business and for them to run it under their own names, etc. In doing so, it made us take a long, hard look at what the costs were, what money was being spent on, what was going out of the bank. And we realised over October that without staff and without certain contracts, etc., the business is actually quite viable. And my heart of hearts, I really didn't want to give the place up. So, yes, we've had a bit of a rethink. We are making changes. They won't all happen between now and Saturday. It'll be organic over the next few months. Essentially, nothing will change. There's just small changes in the background, make the place easier to run, cheaper to run. But we will, because I will become a one-man band, chief, washer, upper, and all that sort of stuff. I'll have to do everything myself. I will only be open Thursday to Sunday inclusive, which is actually quite normal in the UK for micropubs. So we'll see how we go. We've had an awful lot of support from suppliers, from Bushes, from the wine cellar, from customers in Peel, friends in Peel, and all over the island. It's been really heartwarming.
So you did put out that message on the initial closure saying we'll have a bit of a farewell weekend. What was that weekend like when you felt that the doors were closing for good? Did that give you any kind of inkling that, it might not quite be the end just yet?
Yeah, it was too little too late to a certain degree, but we had a fabulous last weekend up to the 30th of September. We more or less cleared the place out. If we had a weekend like that every weekend, we certainly wouldn't be closed. I'd be probably living in Barbados on the profits and leaving some money to run the place, but it wasn't to be. But as I said, we've had a rethink and restructure, and we think we've got to go. It's going to be hard work to do it, but it's good fun at the same time.
That is Charles Miller who was talking to Lewis. And just to recap then, that micropub due to reopen this Saturday, that's the 8th of November, and will operate on a Tuesday to Sunday schedule. 22 minutes past 5, and a Manx resident has been crowned Wedding Cake Artist of the Year in a competition that's been described as the Oscars of the cake world. Amy Ford attended the Cake International Awards in Birmingham at the weekend alongside artists from all over the world, and she's been telling Chanel how it felt to be flying the flag for the Isle of Man.
It means so much. It's such a huge honour. The award itself isn't just for one specific cake design like the Cake International competition. This is for your entire body of work. It attracts people from all over the globe. The furthest place we can be is obviously Australia, New Zealand, and they travel. They come from all over, and they all bring entries for the competition. They travel with cakes, and the awards themselves as well, they are truly international. So other winners were from places like Vietnam and Italy, and to be kind of there and be on a stage as just a small Manx gal amongst all these global giants is insane.
It also puts the Isle of Man on the map as well.
Yes, it does. And this is something that I've been trying to do for years. I entered Cake International, the competition, for the first time, and that was 7 years ago. 2 years ago, I became a judge, which was amazing. And now here I am with their brand new awards. I've won such a massive award, and I'm just absolutely blindsided by it, but it's amazing to be able to fly the flag for the island.
Isn't that absolutely brilliant? That's Amy Ford who won that Wedding Cake Artist of the Year award at the weekend. If you'd like to read more about that, just go to the Good News section of the Manx Radio website. Speaking of good news, we've got Rob here.
Fast am I. So first of all, in motorsport, Michael Dunlop, the most successful TT competitor of all time, has received his MBE for services to motorcycle racing today. The Ballymoney rider has officially received the honour from His Majesty King Charles III after being recognised in the King's Birthday Honours list earlier this year. In an update on social media, Dunlop says he's deeply honoured, also describing it as a privilege to see his work and achievements recognised in this way. Well, at the 2024 races, Dunlop moved on to 29 TT wins, and in the process surpassed the previous TT wins record of 26 set by his uncle Joey Dunlop in 2000. During this year's meeting on the Snaefell Mountain course, he took 4 more victories to move on to 33 in total. Elsewhere, the Manx Rams netball squad have suffered a 47-53 defeat to Papua New Guinea in their third match at this year's Singlife Nations Cup in Singapore today. It's a third consecutive loss for the island side in their maiden appearance at the tournament, However, Isle of Man Netball is describing it as an amazing effort despite coming away empty-handed. This result follows an opening day 61-37 defeat to Singapore on Sunday and narrowly being beaten 39-38 by Singapore A yesterday. The Island side return to action tomorrow for their fourth game of the event against Malaysia, which will get underway at 7 a.m. UK time. Manx powerlifters have secured a new best points haul at the Home Nations Powerlifting Championship after competing in this year's event last weekend. During the meeting at Edgbaston Stadium in Birmingham on Saturday, the Manx powerlifting squad accrued 780.3 points across the respective events. This surpasses the 679.18 points they managed at the same meeting in 2024. Among the 11 individuals representing the Isle of Man side, the most notable displays came from Tegan Lindsay and Thomas Skillicorn, who won their respective categories. Elsewhere in the women's section, Katie Lovelady and Alison Egan finished 3rd and 4th respectively in class. Elizabeth Young and Kerry Lindsay 6th and 7th respectively in theirs, and separately Joanne Kaur finished 7th in her competition. Meanwhile, the other results in the men's tournament saw Kyle Delos Reyes manage a 3rd place finish, Morgan Howard-Brown and Bailey Hotchkiss involved in the same class take 5th and 6th place respectively, with Michael Kelly elsewhere securing 5th spot.
Wonderful, thank you very much indeed, Rob. And as ever, you can catch up with all the very latest sports news on the sports page on Manx Radio, or we've also got the Facebook page as well. But that is all from Update tonight. Coming up next, it's Countryside with Simon and Kiri, and on the programme this week, the gruesome twosome are out and about in the island's rural life, where Kiri's talking to Debbie Kringle, who's holding a special exhibition of wedding dresses in Ballabeg, and Simon continues his conversation with the well-known northern farmer John Quayle. You can hear about his involvement with the Royal Manx over the years and how he started out in fur and feather over 60 years ago, apparently with a few rumpies. I don't know what that means, but anyway, that is all coming up next, which I probably shouldn't think too much about. Then after that, it's Greatest Hits with Chris Kinley, the Folk Show then with John Barker from 9, and After Hours with Dave will be with you from 10. So that's all from us for now. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Take care. Have a lovely evening.